Hey, how's it going? So, there's two ways to pass property into Angular components, right? So I'll show you both methods. So one method you use when you just pass a property. So it's very simple. Name of the property. So name of property equals whatever value you want to pass. Like, let's say whatever. Okay. So now you go here, you put input, then add input like this, then name of the property, which is you can copy and paste whatever you put in here. Right? Now it's going to complain that it's implicit blah blah blah. You can put either this or this, and then type any for TypeScript, type. I just put in any, whatever, right? Now you can use it in here. So now this effectively becomes a variable. And now you can just copy and paste it in here. And then it's going to show up as whatever, you see. So now it's in here. Because it's like, it says here whatever and test. You see, so now whatever and test is going to be added, you see. So now it's passed in here. So now we're passing property, right? So now the second method is what happens if you're iterating. So using a map method, right? Now when you're using a map method, you cannot use simple property. I don't know why, it just doesn't work. So let's just very quickly iterate through this BS. So iteration is like this, at ng4 equals. We're iterating through this thing in here. Now, what in here is basically a array with. Honestly, let me just do it. Hold on, let me just pause, and let me just do it easier. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so I'm back. So now you see I added iterate me variable, and this holds this array with small objects, which is just who. So we're going to be trying to display John 3 times inside of this component here. Okay. So now let's iterate through this thing, right? So we go ng4, code is going to be let. There's a map, so this will be our value of iterate me, right? So now this value is going to be equal to this here. Now I have a video on this, how to do this, okay? And then we want to add index as well. So index as I, we can name it whatever we want. I'll just name it as I as an index, okay? Now, so the next question is how, so we have two values in here. We have value, right? We have this, right? And we have I index. So how do we pass this into this component here? Because we are using it, right? So normally you do prop like this, like prop name equals and then value, whatever you want to put in here, right? Now, when you're iterating, the syntax slightly changes, okay? So now the property name is going to be like this, prop name equals, and now you put in value, and you can put in, let's put in this one here, okay? So now we're putting into prop name this thing here, okay, because it iterates. I know you can't see it, it would have been so much easier if fucking Angular had console log in it. Do you know what I mean? Like useful console log in it. But I mean, Um, it's just you have to do it in your head. You know what I mean? Because it's like you have to just like learn JavaScript first really well, and then come back to this. Because I mean, unless you can visualize it how it's done in your head, this is nightmare, absolute nightmare for you. Okay. So then we want to. So now, okay, I'll show you. We have property name. Okay. So now we need to extract the property name. It's the same shit. It's the same shit. Remember how properties are being extracted? You put add input, okay, this thing, then prop name is going to complain. We're going to put whatever, this thing, and then any. Okay, so now prop name is now equal to this shit in here, okay, which is coming from here. This is basically like you're mapping through it, all right? So now we're going to put this shite into console log. It's going to give us object, most likely, right? Yeah, you see it gives object, because it is displaying this. So if we put dot who, it will give us John, Mary, James. Whoopsie. So dot who, John, Mary, James, right? You see? John, Mary, James. All right, good. So next thing we want to, let's pass index as a value. Again, remember, simple if you're not iterating, property is passed like this: property name blah, and then value. But because we're iterating, we have to do the square brackets. So we're gonna put this is index, right? And then value is going to be this here. Now this is such bullshit, I'll tell you straight away in Angular, that this appears as a string. So there's no differentiation between you typing something and it being an actual value. Do you know what I mean? Because this, in theory, if you look at JavaScript, this should look like this. And this should be template literal. Do you know what I mean? So you can visually see that this is not a string. This is a value being passed from somewhere. But in Angular, there's fucking no way to differentiate them. Do you know what I mean? So you just have to remember that this comes from this. Do you see what I'm saying? It recognizes this as value as well. So it's complete garbage, right? But Angular is dying as a technology. So I mean, just a couple more years and then everything is going to be fine. All right. So now again, this is the property we're passing in. This is the name of the property. So again, we need to extract it. I'm assuming you already put in the input in here. Again, the same shit. Input, whoops, like so, property name. It's complaining. We just do this for fun. Okay, so now this becomes a variable that is now available in here. So we put let's do h1 element, and let's just put as index. And now you can see it's displaying. Do you know what I mean? Let's just put HR line like this so it's visibly better. And let's make this into P element, look a bit better. Yeah, you see, so now we're displaying both name that comes from the object and index, which comes from the mapping method. So just remember, like the most important thing to understand here, if you're passing properties normally, you do not use brackets. In fact, I don't think it's even going to work. If you're passing it as a iteration, you have to use the brackets, square brackets, and that's where the name of the property goes and value goes here. Now let me try adding a simple property, see what happens. 1 second. Okay, I have some good news. So basically this, so brackety brackets, okay, so that is very good, So these square brackets are only used to pass value from the iteration. So this basically code here, this code here, is kind of like this thing here, right? So when you see this, this is kind of like equivalent to JavaScript version of this, right? So why do I know that? Because look, I'm using property, right? Property name. This value comes from here. Index comes from here. And I was able to pass simple property using standard index alongside the mapping method. All right. So you see now we can, so I put simple pass, test. So you can, I don't know, let's just do, you can see, right? So you see now it appears in here as well. All right, so the good news is that alongside this, simple method works. So every time you want to pass an iteration, just use this method, right? Other than that, by default, use this method. And of course, we use the standard property input, which is input, the property name, type, and then the same use, okay, same use. So, okay, so the most important thing to sum it up, if you're passing an iteration, you're using this syntax. If you're passing simple property, you're using this syntax. Other than that, it's kind of the same as React. Okay, take care.